Hello again, everybody. I'm JP Cahalan, and welcome to another episode of Talking Out Our Assets. We have a fantastic podcast for you today. I'm bringing Irv Aristi and Pete Shimkus together to talk about the ability to allow end customers to plan for the future and essentially the contractor's role in that. Now, what you're going to see in this podcast is that it all starts with structured data capture. Irv's going to tell us how they were very deliberate in the workflows that they created, utilizing the XOI tool to get the necessary data in a structured and uniform way, no matter the call. Then we're going to hear from Pete. Pete's going to talk to us about the three pillars of data and how when you have these three pillars, it allows us to unlock insights that are insanely valuable, not only internally, but also, most importantly, for that end customer from the contractor perspective. Last and final, we're going to wrap up with talking about what are the capabilities of the future? How can we utilize data to take it even further and strengthen that relationship between a contractor and an end customer, going from kind of a service provider to a service advisor? Let's get started.
All right. Good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. My name is JT Tahalan. I'm going to be leading us through this episode. It's going to be a fantastic conversation with two very intelligent people. One of those people is not me. I'm just here to facilitate and moderate. I have some great guests that are going to talk us through with their experience in regards to what customers are expecting these days in the space and what essentially the capabilities are of helping these end customers prepare for the next 3, 5, 10 years of their facility management. Now, we all know that for the longest time, customer expectations have been growing and growing and growing simply because the access to data is so at our fingertips. And so, with people's expectations that are growing, what is the expectation of a provider? What is the expectation of being able to advise somebody and walk them through what they should be doing with their equipment based on the current state and everything that has happened with it historically? That's going to be part of the conversation today. For those of you that have joined anything in regard to XOI, and in particular me, we're going to wander in the wilderness, talk about all the things. You are allowed to swear. You are allowed to make fun of each other, but you can't make fun of people that are not part of the web. All right. Well, I'm going to take it over to these two gentlemen and allow them to introduce themselves. I'm going to let Pete from XOI introduce himself, and then he's going to kick it over to Irv, and then we're going to get off and running. Pete?
JP, what's up, man? Thanks for having me. Pete
course, Eric.
Shimkus. So I lead data here at XOI, and that spans a variety of things, data science, all that good stuff. But the simple way I'd say my role here is to take all of this service, all of this equipment data. It's super messy. How do we bring it to life so that we can actually improve operations for organizations each and every day, delivering it even down to technicians through people who make huge financial decisions about equipment? I have the unique benefit of having quite a bit of perspective, and I think it's really, really helped me here at XOI. But my background is I'm actually a registered civil engineer. I've done engineering for quite some time. I was in commercial development. I've also looked after large scale facility and project management, things like cost consultancy on how you optimize your cost. Um, and then obviously I was part of a founder at Specifics, which specialized in equipment data enrichment. And at XOI here, I'm really, really proud to bring it to life and keep innovating and bringing intelligence and insights directly to our customers. Irv, I'm going to pass it your way.
Hey, thanks, Pete. It's hard to follow that, but my name is Irvin. I go by Irv. Super easy because somehow Irvin is super cool name, but somehow everybody messes it up. So I keep it real simple. IRV. If you mess that up, me and you can't be friends, right? So I've been doing this for a long time. My dad was kind of in the industry. He worked for Western Beef in New York, and he used to bring me on Saturdays when they used to do half days, and he used to work on some of the AC and refrigeration equipment, and he used to kind of sneak me in, and we used to hang out, and I started learning how to work on stuff. during that
Mhm.
time. And, although I didn't take a loving to it till I was, in my like late teens. So when I was 19, I actually started the trade. I went to apprenticeship, and I did my apprenticeship in New York. And, from here on out, I went through a little process, and I ended up here in Florida, and, worked my way up. And I'm here at Farmer Irwin now. I've been here for 9 years. Really good group, bunch of really good people. We're a mechanical contractor, so we do pretty much everything from resi to commercial to industrial. That's about it.
With your or with your position down at Farmer Irwin, you and I joke all the time, and just so everybody knows, like I know Irv, we got a good relationship. I always tell Irv he wears a ton of hats. I love the fact that he's wearing that red New York Yankees hat right now, representing. But give the audience a little bit about like what your day to day is, like your responsibilities, your ownership of things down at Farmer Irwin.
So I'm responsible for all the day-to-day operations within the service division. So we work on from chillers to from, like I said, residential equipment to cooling towers. Like today we're dealing with a crazy project. We were just replacing a pump, and the guys found a bunch of corroded piping, and now the building's going to be down probably till midnight because now we have to, we have welders on standby. So now we got welding, and that's the beautiful thing about Farmer Irwin, right? We have problems that arise every day, but we have the
Mhm.
logistics to get things done. So
Yeah.
we're dealing with that. So it's just every day is a challenge because when you're in the service side, you don't know what every day brings, right? You
Yeah.
you you start off your day in the morning, it can be hectic, or it starts off quiet, and then boom, something goes
Yeah.
off. And that's the beauty of service, right? Every day is different and a challenge, but when you have a team that can just get the job done, it's something that I'm really proud of, and I get to lead that team, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome, brother. Last question before I kind of kick things off officially. You obviously leading the service side of this. As you have seen in your years with Farmer Own, are the expectations of your end customers growing in regards to them leaning more on you guys to suggest what they should or should not do in regards to kind of, hey, repair, replace? I know that's always been a thing, right? But are they coming more so to you guys now to say, hey, give us the time, let us know what we should be doing and what you're seeing from other end customers that you guys may service? Is that a thing?
Absolutely, it's a thing, and
Mhm.
and I'm glad you brought that up because that's probably where this discussion today is gonna take us on this beautiful journey. Is the expectation, the customer's expectations are changing, right, with the times because of social media. And I had a customer the other day talk to me about he saw a YouTube video about some guy doing a maintenance, and the guy was doing all this, and he was asking why we don't do that. And so it's just this is where we are today, right? There's so much information out in the public now that before you never had access to. So now
Mhm.
everyone has access to it. So they want to know why you're not doing it, and it's almost like if you don't have those answers,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to keep up with the times, let's say, right? Because
Yeah.
everything's evolving right in front of our eyes, right? Think about, we were just talking about before we started this, the Blackberries and the phones and the pager and your flip phone. I need you to show that. Ah, here we
Of
go.
course, baby.
Flip flip phone. Hey, you know, customers don't want to see a flip phone, man. They want to see, we were talking about web versus Macs earlier. So we're evolving, right? So if we
Yeah.
don't evolve, what happens to things that don't evolve? They become extinct, right? So we don't want to become extinct. We want to evolve with the times, and we want to evolve with our customers. And
Mhm.
man, I tell you, not to plug you guys because I
Yeah.
told you I should work for you guys because I love you guys so much. XOI has helped me plug that, and just that little bit of gap that we had. Man, we've
Mhm.
closed that gap so fantastic, man. Amazing. Just
That's awesome.
yesterday, I
Good.
had something happen, and customer was looking for something, and I was able to search it, send it within 2 minutes, and the guy was
Yeah.
so impressed. Pictures, videos were on there. It's like, anything else you need? Like, nope, we're good. And haven't heard a peep for 2 days. That's amazing, dude. When I tell
That's
you, I'm
yeah.
just amazed, man.
It's a powerful thing, man. And we said it for the longest time, and it's kind of one of those things where you don't know when you're going to need it, but you're definitely going to need it. And like, it's I don't know if people out there are baseball guys or whatever, like we all want to hit home runs, but getting people on base with walks and singles is a critical element. And that's what that utilization right there, the capturing of the data. And you said something interesting. You said, yeah, my customer went to YouTube, they watched something, and now they're asking me, hey, why aren't you doing this? With no regard for if that is the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, completely inaccurate. That comes down to, again, the accessibility to data. And now Pete leads our data science team over at XOI. Pete, you said something earlier. I want to kind of make sure that we table set what people know that is. So I'm going to ask you to give me a rundown on what enrichment is by XOI. But I'd also love to understand from you. You just heard Irv talk about how the evolving customer expectations. We think about that from a data perspective. How do we kind of support evolving customer expectations through this data element? So if you don't mind kind of giving a rundown on that enrichment stuff, and then talk to me a little bit about how you view the world in regards to data for contractors to provide input.
Yeah, right on. Okay, let me ask this question, JP, back, and then I'll do that.
Yeah.
When's the first time you remember hearing the word enrichment? Like this wasn't a thing a few years ago,
man.
it feels like. So I'm just curious, like when is the first time you literally remember hearing that word, and then maybe hearing it applied to even like the service industry?
It wasn't applied to the mechanical space for me. I heard the word, and I probably heard it maybe 3 times in a different context of a different industry, and that was it. But like I never
Yeah.
heard
It,
it before.
it's funny. I've changed my tune on this. I used to think
Okay.
enrichment was just this fancy, make yourself feel important word. The truth is anything but. It's such an impactful word that in context of say what we do. There's a couple flavors of enrichment, but in simple terms, we can take something that feels abstract, like give me a model number that's on that nameplate of that equipment. And then you're like, well, what do I do with that? Our enrichment and just enrichment capability in general allows someone to return great high resolution information about, say, a piece of equipment off just a simple little string like a model number. And so when you think about interactions day to day, if you're a field technician, like what type of refrigerant does this particular piece of equipment have? And if you think back, even not just recent times, you'd have to look this stuff up in a manual. You might see that refrigerant type say Puron and something else that you're like, what even is that, right?
Oh,
So
Pete, you may not even know what it is, right?
that's exactly the point, right? So I
Yeah.
think let me hit that, or that's a great point. Just being able to understand what something is one battle, and filling in like complete, give me some complete information. But then the other battle is this information uniform so that I can kind of apply it at scale? And so I joke, by show of hands, how many variations of the spelling Mitsubishi have we seen in an equipment database? There's about like 17 different ways. And it just goes to show you that even basic limitations, like, is my spelling correct? Have I harmonized this so that we're calling a package unit a package unit? These very simple premises, but they enrichment allows you to get much more out of your information. So hopefully, JP, that's kind of a high level, but I think part of this journey that most organizations are on, they're solving for how do I just get information, like Irv mentioned. And then the next wave of sort of recognition is how do I start applying this? And that's where you've got to make sure that you've got really uniform quality data that you can start to use for your benefit.
Got it. No, that makes total sense. Hopefully we got the level set on the enrichment. I'm going to flash up some numbers later on about the enrichment from Irv's utilization and his team's utilization of XOI, and what we've just literally been able to enrich, decode, understand just from these pictures of these data plays. But you talk about the data element. So I want to take it back to Irv. Irv, you've been on XOI for how long have you and your team been on XOI?
4 months, I think, right?
4 months.
We started
4 months.
probably 4 months. Yeah.
All right. And you guys are absolutely killing it, and you're doing it very well. You guys have created some structured workflows, some data collection elements that allow you to capture certain, particularly necessary things out in the field. What has that structuring of data to know that consistency exists? What has that done for you at let's take to an operational level for your job and your role? Like, what has that collection method done for you in regards to 5 months ago when you didn't have Excel?
So, I think clarity is probably the
Okay.
most important word that I can use, right? So one of the things our customers expect is clarity, right? So we use a very outdated system, right, on our ERP. So it's something that in order for me to get the information to the customer, it takes time to find the right information that they're looking for, right? So
Mhm.
when we started using XOI, right, and I was a new user at it, and I didn't really understand what it can do for me. I mean, I kind of knew that it was going to be something good, but I didn't understand how great of a tool it was going to be for what I do every day. From a management standpoint, right? Because you're managing customers, you're leveraging information, you're doing this and that, right? I'm only as good as how fast I can get the information back to the customer. Because one of the things that drives a customer away is wasting time. If they have to wait for you for 3 or 4 days to get the information that they're looking for, they're gonna go find it somewhere else, man. And if someone else already has it at their fingertips, they're gonna be able to spit it out in a snap of a finger. Did you hear that? Snap of a finger. So they're gonna be able to snap and get it. If I can't if I can't, like we said, evolve with that, then I'm gonna be left behind. And I don't want to be left behind, right? So one of the things that it has helped me with is that clarity. Like the story I told you guys, someone was looking for, they want to know what was done to their ice machines. And they wanted to know, what do we do? And we showed them before and after pictures or videos and all. I mean, I couldn't get that before. You couldn't
Yeah.
because our platform was not able to do that. We could upload information, we could upload, pictures and all that, but it took too much time to gather it and put it all together. With a snap of a finger, I can, click on something, share the link, and it's there at the. I mean, I'm telling you, it was instant, and they were so impressed that how fast they were able to get the information. And I said, I haven't heard a peep from them for 2 days, and before,
Yeah.
you're getting phone calls or text messages. Hey, do you have that information yet? My boss, because somebody always has to report to someone. And the person that's looking for the information is never the person in charge. It's always someone that they've delegated that information to get it. And then that person is the one that we deal with. And then if we can't get him, like if we don't make him look good,
Yeah.
they're gonna find somebody else that makes them look good. So that's one of the things I could say that it has helped us tremendously.
Understandable. Yeah, the clarity is a huge one, and I view that from two perspectives, the same way as kind of that ability to engage with the customer. There's clarity that happens in real time, and being able to put the fire out right now. And the unique thing about what you guys are doing with XOI and how an enrichment rolls in is you're documenting all these things on these calls, layering in the enrichment, layering in what's happening. So we're providing clarity in real time, but also as we think about that expectation of, hey, help me plan for the future, that clarity doesn't stop there. It just and continues to compound as we go through the journey and of that customer's portfolio, that customer's contract, and all of those things. So it's a very unique position to be in where the execution of what your technicians are doing is helping in the here and now and in the future.
One of the things I wanted to add to your point is we're
Yeah.
creating a story, right? XOI
Interesting.
is helping me create a story, right? There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. What's the end result, right? We want to get the customer back up and running as quickly as possible. We want to
Mhm.
give them the information that they need to make those conscious decisions, especially in today's economy, man. Like, look what's going on with gas prices and the uncertainty of money. They want to know how are they going to spend their money in the next fiscal year, right?
Yeah.
That's that clarity I'm talking about. But we're also painting us. We're creating a story. We're painting a picture for them. Hey, here's your equipment now. Here's what it looks like. Here's what you need to do. And that's where I know that's where Pete's gonna take us to next. But that's what I wanted to just add to you is like you guys have helped me create a story of each piece of equipment that the customer has. Let's put it that way.
I mean, that's a tee up right there. How
Yeah,
important how important is that story for as we think about the future and helping people plan?
yeah. I mean, it's absolutely critical because you have sort of your start, middle, and end, and then you've got the what's next. And I think in terms of when you think across large organizations who are spending significant capital on there's kind of like two forms that people struggle with. You've got your OpEx category, which is, are my maintenance budgets adequate and aligned to the condition and kind of nature of our equipment? And then you've got the How do I know when it's time to invest and sort of recapitalize the portfolio? It's time to replace these equipment with modern units. I think the way I'd see a lot of compounding value, and this is a little bit of the uncomfortable nature of sort of the industry, is that service providers have not historically been asked to be data companies. And this is like a huge challenge. So if I have a history of information on a particular piece of equipment, am I able to use that same information to get to, in the future, a more predictive lens on that? And not to get too tangential here, JP, but I think about the competitive nature of the industry. And Irv definitely will have a take on this. But when you think about typical service contracts and things that are 3 to 5 years in nature, you're always trying to outcompete, the competition. And I think data is proving to be a key differentiator in the sense that you're able to help organizations optimize their financial, spend, whether again it's on your maintenance side or if it's on your more capital replacement side. I'm curious, or from your lens, when you for your end customers, how critical do they view being able to tell this sort of end to end story? Are they seeing this clearly, and how are the demands kind of increasing in your business because of that?
So glad you said that. So one of the things I always talk to people, right, when we have just conversations is what separates me from the next AC company, right? Because we're all going to do the same exact things. We all have service technicians. We all do the same exact things. We all offer the same services. We all like, so what separates us from the next person, right? And one of the things that I've been able now to leverage is XOI, man. Like, here we are. Like, yes, you're going to be able to give you the same services that your other company has, but we're also painting this beautiful picture for you where you're going to have clarity, right? You're going to have ownership. I think I talked to JP about I'm also giving my customers a chance to help me with the workflows, right? Where, hey, is this something you want to see on the workflow? Is this something you don't want to see on the workflow? Is that information pertinent to you? So I'm getting that feedback from the customers, right? Because I want them to, hey, here's your workflow, right? In the beginning, we're working something out. Here's where, and that's where I think people need to like really open their eyes and just view this not just as a tool that you guys are just throwing at them, and they're just gonna plug something in, and this is what you have. I mean, it's a blank canvas for you to create whatever it is you feel like you need for your business and your vision of what you want, your company to look like, right? So I'm pretty sure someone else will have, difference of opinion of how we do X or Y. But for me, like my customers, the feedback they've given me have created the workflows that, JP has seen. Like, and then we've added more different workflows for certain customers. Like you can line this up however you feel like, right? You can have workflows for particular customers that they don't want to see everything. Some, like the hotels, they want to see because they work on CapEx budgets every year. So they want to see longevity. They want to see this. So that's where you can kind of shift your focus, not have this, because that's the thing. We make the mistake sometimes of putting every single thing into one basket and treating it as such. You can't do that.
Mhm.
You're gonna be unsuccessful in this life if you just view everything the same. You cannot, right? You have to look at
Yeah.
things the way they are. Each individual customer, each person is going to have what they feel is necessary for them. So if we don't listen, right? And the beauty of XOI is we can listen and then we can execute, right? So you
Yeah.
guys have helped me not only on my side, I'm listening, but then I could also execute, right? You guys have helped me through that whole process. You guys have helped me through that whole thing and me being able to edit, right? The edit button is amazing. I had a tech in here complaining about something the other day, and we're like, hey, come here, let me show you something. You see this edit button right here? It's like gone. It's done. That's how easy it is. It's gone. Now you never, oh, okay, because yeah, it was double. Double. Like, yeah, I kind of realized it was double because now, Premier Star is asking us to do kind of the same thing. So I didn't realize that was still there. So it's gone.
Mhm.
So now no more. So it's
Got
like,
it.
oh, that was that simple. Yeah, that's it. Gone. So that's the
Mhm.
beauty of it, man. Simplicity, the clarity I talked about,
Yeah.
helping our customers, pushing things ahead, having them understand that, hey, this is exactly what I need. I had a customer tell me, hey, this is exactly what I was looking for. You guys are
That's
doing
brilliant.
fantastic, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's brilliant, man. That is great to hear. I love the fact that you're taking a collaborative approach with your customers in regards to the workflow. Going to put you on the spot here with a question that'll lead into me asking Pete a version of the same thing. When you think about your engagement with that collaborative approach with your end customers, from your sense, do you believe that they are asking for information that solves the here and now and validates work? Or do you think there are some pieces of information in there that they are already seeing is going to be a future utilization for them to better plan and capital plan and project plan?
Easy answer, both, right?
Okay.
Because we're in the service industry, right? Our customers need here and now, but they also
Mhm.
need what do I need for the future, right? So hey,
Yeah.
here's your suggestions for here and now, right?
Yeah.
And now here's your long-term solution, right? And that's where the whole thing with capturing the data and you guys are able to offer us longevity. We can see longevity and I could offer that to the customers, right? Here's your here and now, but hey, this
Mhm.
piece of equipment is now 15 years old. You're still running R22. You're still, that's the beauty of it, right? So to answer your question, both, right? They can get to the here and now, but they also see that clarity we talked about is the longevity because we're giving them everything, right? And that's what they want. They don't want you to sugarcoat and hold back, right? You got to tell them, hey, has to get done. You can do this now, but you also have to do this later. They love that. They love that approach, man. It's been
Got it.
really good.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly. I mean, I did not know the answer to that question when I asked it, but it's exactly what I wanted to hear. So that's good. Pete, as you think about that in your previous career, right, and kind of managing the spend of things and ensuring that you're picking the right spots and let's call it mitigating kind of risk. As what were your expectations? And I know it was I don't want to age you out, man, but I mean this was years ago. Pete, you look great, dude. What were your
He says
expectations?
the guy with the flip phone.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So the guy whose phone buttons are this big. What were your expectations of what you should get from contractor providers and solution providers such as Urban and Think?
Yeah, I think, man, I'm gonna do my best to not go on too much of a tangent here, but I'd start with just one word, which is consistency. And I think there's historically been this gap between I might be servicing equipment, but what information should I collect on that? And if I take that one notch further, I'm gonna tie it to what Herb just said, because Herb said R22 and my spidey sense goes up. But it's it's one of those things that I could tell you the pressure in the industry is being applied in various ways. And it hits an owner occupier, that end customer, and then they just keep pushing it down on others. And so when you think about the regulatory climate, and how, say, refrigerant is being just highly regulated. What types of reporting requirements do I have to fulfill as the underlying owner of this facility? It is exponential, and the pace that that I'll call it regulation and requirements and capital constraints, all these things are colliding. And as a result, they need consistency. Do I understand the refrigerant type for every single piece of equipment? Because if I knew that, I could then automate in a workflow. How do I report and meet the regulatory requirements? So there's just lots of pressures that are coming in. But I think I used to do a lot of work with Fortune 1000s. And
Okay.
one of the things that I'll tell you, maybe a different flavor of consistency, was just data quality. Do we have the information we need to make decisions? And for instance, they would have no idea like what the size of this equipment, just even some of the basic things. So I think in my mind, JP, you know, people are thirsting for information, and I'm going to try to take us in another direction too, if we're curious. But nowadays with AI, and all these AI applications, there's a huge through line here of you just need consistently great high resolution data to even bring that to life. So it's this huge prerequisite that I think is being felt all the way on every level. Do I have the right information? Is it accurate, up
Mhm.
to date, and can I apply it? And that kind of through line it just keeps I would just say it keeps getting uh, larger and larger pressure on the industry.
You talking about a simple structure, something like this?
Yeah, right on. How do you where'd that come from? Yeah.
Listen, I'm magical. I'm magical in the background. But yeah, walk me through this. You just kind of talked us through it. But in your world, Pete, as you think about the A, your position in X or Y with the data element of this, and then B, what you just talked about, how you have these expectations of, words such as consistency and clear view. Is this as simple as it can be? It's like, hey, I just need to be able to do these pillars correctly.
Yeah, honestly, they are. They're what I would call a series of toll gates. And
Okay.
so if you viewed it as just like, let me get through toll gate A, then move to B to C, I think visibility and things like workflow, guided operations, these things drive visibility. And I think Irv has just given us like huge examples of this in real time.
That's that
Um,
clarity I was talking about right there.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely brilliant.
Yes, sir.
Yep, spot on. And I think it's one thing to have visibility and then to get to that next toll gate or the kind of level of the video game, as I say, there needs to be a high degree of structure. And this feels like a chess match because you're asking yourself, do I have the right data points I need so that I can then ultimately move to action? And so if I tie these three things together in a workflow, you've got technicians interacting with equipment and confirming things like what is its refrigerant type. That refrigerant type has to be structured so that you can enrich that and you understand exactly this refrigerant type, all these other things you might need to know, even down to like what is the refrigerant charge by circuit.
Mhm.
And then the action gets converted when you start to automate regulatory and compliance tools. Things that have been historically done by hand, and the limitation there is that it's just never up to date. So I think like with one simple example, just using refrigerant, you can work your way through each one of these toll gates and it just keeps scaling. It just keeps scaling. And so ultimately you'd want such visibility as an organization that you could say, I see this piece of equipment at your facility and I have extraordinary knowledge that in year 13 there is high risk of a compressor failure. That's taking visibility to action and just making it very, very useful and applicable.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, telling that story, man. That's a story. Here's where we are. Here's where we were. Here's where we are today. Right. That's that clarity, the visibility, the structure. But when it comes to structure, guys, for the people that are listening who are maybe thinking about considering XOIs, you guys have to know exactly where to take that information and how to use it to your best ability. So that structure side, you have to know what you want to do. Like with us now, we're getting proposals back to the customers in real time. Like we've been able to get approvals for proposals now while the techs are still on site. Because as soon as they hit okay on something, emails are going out to my people and they're processing these events and we're able to take the pictures and the data tag. No more calling the tag, hey, was that a Z or was that a B or was that, hey, your picture looks a little distorted. It's there. Extraction is there. We're able to send that to the customers. We're able to plug that into our sites with our parts, right? So we're able to turn it around faster, right? So that structure has to be built by us, which is the end user, right? So yes, the visibility and everything is there, but it's how we structure it that makes a difference to that end point, right? Telling the story, and we're gonna guide the middle portion of that, right? Of that story. And the end result is customers happy and we're making money in the process, right? So
Yeah.
think about that, man.
Love that. I'm going to pull up one more slide because I want to, you just kind of talked about it. I want to show it so everybody can kind of understand where we are. We've just heard kind of a good synopsis of how this is all working, the structure for the story, and what that can actually end up being. And so when you think about that specification data, these are the things that Pete has been talking about. These are the things of being able to get to refrigerant type, get to circuits, and get to all this information. Irv's talking about that operational guidance. And so the interesting thing about what Irv and his team are doing with these XOI workflows is he is setting himself up and his team up for the ability to plan proactively better than anybody else. And here's why that's happening. Irv, you just mentioned you have a workflow that they're capturing that on a service call. I'm assuming when they have additional work, it launches out to something else, then emails the team.
Yes.
Is there a data plate inside of that workflow
Yes.
for the additional work? Okay, great. That data plate has all that specification data, which is our top box. The second box right there is the operational guidance. So because of what you are doing, Irv, your team and ultimately the customer in the long term and near term knows that additional work, a quote, is needed for this particular serial number. Now, here's where things get interesting. The last thing is performance data. He talked and said something very, very clear. He said, we know with almost a high degree of certainty, and then see, I try and be mindful of all your word choices, high degree of certainty that this will fail at 13. The reason you get there is because I have specification data of that make, model, serial in the factory specs that allow me to get to a configuration level that most cannot get to. And then I am layering in real interactions from the field on top of those things. And Irv, that is what you are setting your team up for, is this ability to be able to say, here's the value of the here and now. Oh, and by the way, in the background, we are building a performance data set that allows us to take the expert view and tell you with a high degree of certainty, this will fail next year.
Yes.
That is the power of how you deal with vast amounts of data. It's not manual entry. It is allow tools to work for you. So with that said, I'm going to back up real quick right here. And you're going to see me click through these slides. Irv, I want to show you your data. And I tried to de-identify this as best I could. You guys have been on XOI for 4 months. I can tell you that based on the equipment that gets captured, 15% of the assets that have come through XOI in total, 15% are 80% of their useful life for that equipment type or beyond. 10% of these are 100% or beyond. And so for everyone out there that's listening, you got to understand what's happening here. A technician is doing an action, and Irv is being able to categorize all this information just from that one picture. We're able to see that there's 660 pounds of R22 out there. That's only 3.5% of the assets. You guys have done a fantastic job of removing that obsolete refrigerant. But I can also tell you, here are the 36 customers. So how do you help people capital plan, project plan, and take all those regulations and compliances into consideration that he was talking about? You got to know what it is.
Yeah.
And you got to know
there.
where it is. Yeah.
Clarity, baby.
100%.
Clarity.
And then this is one of the things that I love. 19% of your customers have 3 or more assets that are literally defined by ASHRAE standards beyond their useful life. So it's
Pete,
part of this. Yeah, Pete, go ahead.
I want to hop on that because you gave me an opening because something I probably should have highlighted is that, especially when you think about that last bucket where you were dropping some insights like this portion of equipment is definitely beyond useful life. What's interesting is when you really start to aggregate this stuff at scale, because that in a past life I used to define this as sometimes the insights that organizations are seeking represent 2 flavors: distance to you and distance to industry. And what I mean by distance to you is within the things I'm touching and interacting with, how do I make sense of that and compare? But the more bold, the more powerful kind of insight is the distance to industry, meaning I could tell you, for instance, working with Fortune 1000s, that a typical distributed real estate portfolio has somewhere in the ballpark of 60% of equipment beyond useful life. I mean, it's shocking. So you can start to see these patterns and you can start to apply them and you can say, what are my peers doing? How would they think about it? And so it's just, there's a level up even from that slide that says there is so much power in understanding how others are sort of using this information, where they might benchmark themselves in a couple of those categories. And it really just drives positive behavior. Because if you didn't realize, for example, that best in class would be somewhere around 35 to 40%, you now can coach somebody through how to get there and where you should focus those investments, as a simple example.
Yeah, and JP, we also talked about that structure part of what you do. So I've also now have my team going through those reports just like that, and we're sending proactive proposals to customers, and it's in their hands, right? And if just to say they're looking for capital X numbers, we have, hey, we gave you these proposals a year ago. Now we're 12% higher because you guys sat on it. So these are the things that you could actually use to your advantage and give to your customers. And they'll have that data right away versus waiting for something to happen. Right? We're in a proactive business, not a reactive business, right? Service, yes, it's a lot of reactive, but it doesn't have to be. And I think this is where,
Mhm.
XOI and AI is going to help us become more proactive versus reactive. And that's how you
Yeah.
maintain the longevity of your customers is being proactive, not reactive.
Or you said
But
you said when you started, you said every day is different, and I love that. And it's funny because my take was, isn't there a beautiful world in the future where it's like I actually know what's in store tomorrow?
That'll be a boring world in my
yeah.
in my in my view, man. I love the chaos. I do. I love the chaotic. I mean, every day is like a Monday, and I love it. That's service. That's
Yeah,
if I wanted
absolutely.
that kind of world, I would have been a banker. You know.
There you go. There you go. Irving, you said something there that I kind of find interesting, and it goes on what Pete's talking about. If you think about your end customers, the distance to you and then distance to industry, are you seeing more of your end customers and probably, I'm not trying to belittle anybody, maybe more sophisticated access to more data that are leaning on you guys to say, hey, where do I stack up in the industry? How am I doing? Because everybody always, I mean, it's human nature to compare yourself to something else to make yourself feel better. Are you seeing more of that now from your end customer? Or do you think if you're not, do you think that's going to be the way the world goes?
So I'm glad you said that. So we're not there yet, but I think we're
Okay.
going to get there because of this, right? So we're once we're so new at this that I'm going to be able to compile a world of data, right? And on the next fiscal year, once we got a full year of XOI, right, I want to start creating like a dashboard per customer so I can show them, hey, here's where you were last year, here's where we want to be this year, right? Here's the things that we believe this year you should attack. Here's the like you have to use all this to your advantage, right? It's not so much, yeah, I'm gonna get all this information and just put it in a file somewhere and open it, whenever I please. You got to be on top of it, man. This stuff is at your fingertips. It's right then and there. It's moving, right? You can't ask for something and then just put it to the side, right? I've been asking for this. I think I told you I was asking for this, and when Premier Star came on board, they're like, "We got it, baby." And I was like, "Oh yes, let's go." And we just started rocking, man. And it's been so helpful to my everyday, and the guys are loving it, and that's the thing, right? If your leader is buying in, the rest of the team will buy in, and then you'll start seeing results because it's there, man. You got to have a vision, right? At first, you got to have the vision, right? Here's where I think we're failing, and XOI helped us, bridge those gaps. And the customers, some of them, might be there, but they're not there yet because we have never been able to give them this kind of clarity before, right? And the new customers are gonna be spoiled, right? Because they're here, right? Now they're spoiled because this is what they're used to now. Us giving them this, and the old customers are like blown away, but the new customers are spoiled. So I can't wait to hear what the new customers are saying. Hey, why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, man, I thought we had all that covered. So it's fantastic, man. It's a
That's
fantastic thing.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you talk about, you bring up the element of what this is, and people have long talked in this industry about, you hear a peripheral conversation about a customer portal and all these things, and in reality, your customer doesn't want a portal. They just want data and clarity. That's all they want. And so,
Yes.
what you're doing and what you're talking about with, hey, I want to create this dashboard is taking that to say, hey, I'm going to provide you the story, the data, and the clarity, and we're going to work together to plan out what we need to do.
Yes.
And that to me, Herb, is I think you are approaching it a tool like this as exactly as you should in the state of the world that we are.
Yeah,
And I think you're doing. I mean, you and your team are doing a hell of a job. Go, Pete.
absolutely. I totally agree. I think Irv, part of the way I'm seeing things from my perspective is the service industry is becoming an insights business. And
Yes.
this is the reality of competing moving forward. And to make somebody feel credible and have a great degree of confidence in your service capability, it's likely in the future going to be informed by reporting on benchmarks. And I use kind of this, it might be a poor but straightforward analogy, JP, but like think about when you compete, you have to share your safety record, right? Like
Yep.
that's a pretty well
Yep.
established thing in the construction industry, and people evaluate the merits of your of basically your firm based upon things like safety performance. Well, moving forward, and I don't think it's a very bold leap, is people are going to want to know, like, how do I stack up versus my other peers that you're servicing, and how do I think about having an equipment portfolio that's 80% beyond useful life? What action
Yeah.
should I take? I'll give you one other interesting take here. When I used to work with Fortune 1000s, they'd go out to RFP for, say, mechanical maintenance and service, RFPs. The requirements that they had were 30 years old. They're not even in tune with what you should do to optimize. And I think that's where people like Irv are on the forefront, where with guided operations and a very detailed workflow and the insights that you can exhaust off that, you can almost inform people this is the type of maintenance activity we should do, which will equate to extending the longevity of that equipment, for example. Like clearly tying one action to an outcome. And I think that's the big shift I'm seeing, and I think Irv's validating a tremendous amount of it as well today.
Yeah, how many times have we kicked ourselves in the ass for not putting some money up on Bitcoin or putting some money up on Apple, right? Like,
NVIDIA.
and now we're like, let's get in now. Right? That's how I feel like some people are trying to get into this industry right now, right? In this AI world, like you got to catch lightning in a bottle, right? Once, right? You can't wait for it to happen, and all of a sudden now everybody wants to walk around with a bottle and try to catch it. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person looking on the backside again. I want to be on the forefront of all this stuff. So I've been pushing. I've been pushing and pushing because I want to get ahead of this. I want to get ahead of this industry. I want to get ahead of what's coming next because you have to, like Pete said, you have to foresee the things that are coming, right? These regulations. Think about the percentages of my customers that are still on R22. Dude, we're two refrigerants later, baby.
Yeah.
Like here you are, you've missed the first phase out. Now you have to get to the next one. So and then the price point, if you would have hit the 410 and then you go into 454, maybe you would have been, but now you're going from R22 to 454, or R32, you're gonna get hammered, man. And then we're the ones that look like the bad guys. Like, no, it's not us, man. You missed out. It's like someone asked me this morning about a price for something. Was that a fair price? I was like, yeah. Oh my God, is that much? I was like, yeah, dude. Have you noticed the prices on equipment now? It's through the roof. So it's like, yeah, that's actually a fair deal. Tell them to take that price. So you got to look at the world for what it is, man. Let's get ahead of this. Let's get reactive, right? Don't be proactive. Proactive costs you a lot of money, right? Reactive, you get to save a little bit because you're planning ahead. And if you plan ahead, you look like a hero, not a zero, right?
No, I understand that. Yeah, that is a you, you talk you talk about all those things, and I go back to kind of the aspect of AI, right? AI is literally changing the world. It's changing how people work. People were just going to take jobs, not going to take all the jobs. Like it's never going to impact or take your technician's job and role and all these things.
No.
To use AI best, in my opinion, you have to have an amazing data set. You have to collect structured data, and it has to be a depth of data. And that is what you are doing with your structured approach and what's happening. And then with this layering on the enrichment, this is how we can get to being proactive, like you're talking about, which is I'm going to allow myself to get to configurations of things that other people cannot get to because I know more because this is the data. I always use vehicles as the analogy because everyone has went and searched for a vehicle. Everyone has went to buy a new vehicle, and you don't just go look for a Ford truck. You are looking for a Ford F-150 that is a super crew, that is this engine size, this thing, this thing, this thing. And then you're starting to say, because of Coronado and Kelly Blue Book and all this stuff, what's the performance or the ratings for these things? And that is what you are setting the stage for. And what all this can unlock, in my personal opinion, how you can proactively plan is I can't go and say, yep, carrier rooftop units. That's so generic. I need to be able to say, it is this carrier rooftop unit that is this size with this configuration in Florida, because that's different. Here's how it operates. And so that is, when we think about the world, and Irv, it sounds like you think about it the same way. You have to take all the necessary configuration and data points and make them action. And that's where you are, because to your point, we are in a place where money is tightening around everything. I need to get a end customer to a world where they can aim small and miss small. That's the best goal. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, JP, it's all about informing investment decisions. I mean, the name of the game is how do you optimize and have this data set that helps best inform strategic decision making, which could be how I think about should I do more maintenance versus replace? Should I begin a multi-year phase out of certain refrigerant types and chip away? Should I think about decarbonization over time? All of these things really track back to that theme you're mentioning, man. So I think you're spot on.
Well, I got to ask the question to Irv. Thank you, Pete. I got to ask the question to Irv. Like, Irv, you think about you guys using additional work through XOI. Things are coming in. Hey, there's a repair right here. Are you guys already, or after this conversation, are you planning to say, hey, I'm going to go look at the entire portfolio of this customer to see where they sit with kind of what should be changed? Because we may not even pitch a repair. Maybe we just need to lean in on the replacement because we already know what they have and where their portfolio is. And this is an opportunity for us to chip away in pieces.
Yeah, so that's the story that I'm trying to paint, because
Love it.
a service history is gold. If I
Yeah.
can prove to you that it's worth replacing this system, come January when your new fiscal year comes, because you've had X amount of repairs over the past 9 months on this one piece of equipment, that's gold, baby. That's gold for you. Like, as the end user, Pete, do you want to keep throwing money at this piece of junk, or hey, let's get you a new unit with warranty. You'll save X amount of dollars on. You're gonna probably spend all this money just trying to repair this thing. So that's where that's gonna come in handy. Yes.
Love it. I got one question that came through that I want to ask, because I love it. What is the biggest mistake you see teams make when trying to move to a more data-driven, proactive operating?
Let me lead off, JP.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, I'll lead off and then I'll pass to Irv real quick. I think it has to do with structure. It's one of those things where if you skip a step because it might be in the moment hard to appreciate. If I ask something and I get kind of 4 different levels of it, it might be hard in the moment to understand that minor investment up front is going to yield very meaningful insights on the back end, so to speak. And I think what I see in the industry is people who are looking to save time up front, albeit it might be seconds, but it has a catastrophic kind of negative compounding outcome where it's like literally ask this question, be detailed about it. It's not an inconvenience, but the catch here is being able to articulate why this matters, to structure it this way to drive a specific data point or metric or outcome that the business is needing. So to me, the miss is usually structure. Okay. Or what do you see on your side?
So it's interesting you said that, because that's kind of the way I view the same thing, but I'm looking at more from an operational standpoint. Being ready, it's probably one of the most probably biggest mistakes that you can make through this whole process is not being ready for what's coming, right? So
Yeah.
you got to have the right team in place. Like I told you, JP, I already have the email set up to the people that I know are going to get this stuff out right away. So you have to be ready, right? With the information, we're going to give you the information, right? And I say we because I feel like I already work with these guys. We are going to give you this information at your fingertips. It's what you do with that information next that you decide. This is your fate to decide. XOI can't decide the fate. They're going to give you the data. They're going to give you what you're looking for. Is what you use that data, like how you use the data is how it decides. Don't blame others for your faults, right? You can't blame XOI for you not making money when they're giving you the chance to do it. Be ready. That's probably the biggest mistake that people can make is not being ready operationally.
And that is those are two. I will tell you this as a guy who's traveled the country and deployed this technology a lot of different places with a lot of different groups. Those are two perfect answers. And I will say that because here's one simple thing structure. I know groups where they don't actually get the accurate asset associated to the work being done. The downstream compounding effect of not being able to get the service history, which impacts spend, which impacts my ability to predict and project. Dude, that's structure. Asset to the work. That's a simple thing. And the ready earth, man, I tell people all the time, it's a crawl, walk, run game. But you got to start crawling. You got to
Yep.
start doing something. Doesn't mean you got to do all the things. Figure out what's going to win for you now and what sets you up for later. If there is the intersection of that use case or that element, by all means do it. So guys, I will tell you this. This has been a hell of a conversation. I've enjoyed
We gotta
having
do
you
it
guys
again.
so much. Dude, 100%. Thank you guys so much for joining this. Everybody out there that has been listening to these two experts talk about the space and talk about kind of how they see the world, both into here, but also in the future. You got to sit down at a table with some really intelligent people and get a treat of what's going on. So thank you guys so much. Irv, Pete, I owe you both a beer. I will do that next time. But otherwise, y'all have an absolute wonderful day and we'll see y'all again soon.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, JP.
Yes. Thank you.